Well, after Obama got re-elected, we realized that there was a dire emergency going on. At least we feel each of our houses are in distress because of what the Obama administration is doing to our rights alone. Being out of the Second Amendment, with the introduction of Obamacare, which we feel is unconstitutional, and just adds up from there. The fiscal cliff, which is a huge deal for the future of not just me, but my kids, your kids, or anybody's kids.
And so, if you could talk about just logistically, like, and physically, what did you do in the neighborhood? When did you start turning the flags over, and sort of how did it catch on?
Right. The day after he was inaugurated, officially on TV, is when I flipped my flag over. At that time, only one other person had a flag in the neighborhood, and he called me out on it, and thought it was a disgrace to the flag. And then I explained to him, no, it is a visual, nonverbal protest, usually towards the government. If it's offshore on a boat, then it's considered a distress or emergency. So once I talked to him about it, he flipped his flag over. And then my other neighbors started picking up on it and started talking to me. And it's about education. People think, and they don't know until you educate, about what's going on. And then it clicks. And then, everybody else started following and putting up their flag. And like, hey, he's right. We do need to do something. We need to show these people that there is something going on serious in this country. And, it's not every day you have neighborhoods this big that do this kind of stuff. So it shows there is a serious problem.
And how about, you were talking about, it's a symbol for distress out on the sea. Just sort of explain that a little bit more, and then how does that correlate here? You feel like the neighborhood or the houses in the country is in distress.
Right. On a boat, an upside down American flag is considered a distress symbol. So you run it up, and then any boat around you, helicopter, whatever, see that boat's in distress. So I felt it would be a good idea to relay that to our neighborhood, like our country, or at least our houses, our families are in distress from what's going on in this administration. And so it's a good symbol to let everybody know. And it grabs attention. People stop, talk, ask, why is it like that? And it opens up a conversation window.
And yeah, maybe talk about that. Why, someone's going to say they're doing this for attention, and you're going to say, yeah, we are. Because you are.
Basically, it is for attention, yes. Because we want people to come and talk to us. We want to ask, why is it like that? Why do you feel the way you do? If we didn't do it, everybody would drive by, and everybody would still be blind to what's going on, and there would be no education or anything going on about it.
And if you could talk about, some of the other neighbors. It caught on to a point where now, where does it stand? 5 flags, right?
Yeah, five flags out of the 7 in this neighborhood have them up.
And so, any negative reaction, and is there a negative reaction that turns into a positive reaction, maybe after they talk to you? So,
well, the one neighbor, it was negative at first, and then when I talked to him about it, he's like, "Oh, he's right." He did his own research and realized, no, it's okay to do this stuff. It's okay to protect your freedom of speech. Is basically what it comes down to. That's a form of a freedom of speech, and it's okay to do that. And people need to realize it's okay to let people know that your concerns.
And if you could, talk a little bit about your background too. You're someone that really knows flag respect, American flag respect. So, to come from you, it also means a lot more, I think.
Right. I did a tour in the United States Army with a deployment to Iraq, and then I got out of that and I joined the U.S. Coast Guard, and I did 4 years in the Coast Guard.
And so, again, for someone that goes, God, this guy's crazy. Like, why would he be, quote unquote, disrespecting a flag? What would you say to someone that maybe has a huge problem with it?
People will have a problem with it just because there are some soldiers that I know, and they still think, hey, turning it upside down for especially a prolonged period of time is a disrespect. But again, that's their opinion, and it's not. I'm not at all trying to disrespect anything. I want to bring a visual, inviting approach for people to come and talk to me about this situation, so I can explain to them better.
And if you could, maybe 1 or 2 of the most egregious things that you, in your opinion, think are happening with the federal government, starting with the administration.
First and foremost would be the most recent vagrant attack on the Second Amendment. It's unjustified. I'm a gun owner. I'm a very respectful gun owner. I teach all my kids, even my youngest, all the way down, gun safety, gun respect, how to handle a gun, everything. I was brought up that way. So it's a vagrant attack, and it's unjustified. It's an emotional response to a tragedy, and there's no facts thought about it. And the other one would be the Obamacare. I think it's a quote-unquote socialist structure. Government should not be involved in our medical care. You know, that's for us to decide and how we want to live and do our things. And I think that's a vagrant disrespect to the Constitution.
How long did the flag stay up?
My flag is staying up until it changes in the administration, until, you know, it gets leveled out.
Okay. Do you think of anything, Frank, or anything that you want to add that I didn't ask you?
Are there maybe some other neighbors in the neighborhood that are thinking of doing the same thing, or?
Yeah, we have another neighbor I've been talking to. He's thinking about getting a pole. He's looking for the right color. He wants to match, and then he may raise a pole up and get a flag up also.
And so, any other message? I mean, what if this story becomes a national story? I mean, that's something that could happen with this. I mean, what would your message be if you had that kind of a platform? I mean, that's crazy, right?
My biggest message would be, don't be afraid to speak about your feelings. Just, we're at a time and age, it's a desperate time, I feel. And I know there's many out there that do, and they're in a shell. And I just want people to know, don't be afraid to come out and just educate. Even if you talk to one person, two people, just talk about it. Don't stay hidden up, because honestly, if you don't do anything, you're just as responsible as the people that's doing the whole problem. So you have to get out and you have to say something. Anything, post something on Facebook or Twitter, just do something.
What was it that finally sparked you to do what you did?
It's been building up for a long time. Since his first election, I didn't support him. He's got a mindset that I don't think is good for this country. And so as it built up, and then when he got re-elected, it was a tipping point, because now he overnight started implementing drastic changes that totally go against the way the Constitution and the founding fathers meant for it to happen. And that's what did it.
What was it like when you first turned that flag upside down and hoisted it up?
It was a little unnerving when I first got it up there, because I've never done anything like this, and it's a big statement. It's a huge statement, and so when I was bringing it up there, I knew people would say something, and my whole thing was, what do I say? I don't have prepared speeches. What do I do? But I knew I had to get up. I knew something had to be done, even the little way that it is. It's very little, very small, but it's something that I can do.
Thank you. We appreciate it. I'm going to get the microphone from you. You ready? Real quick. And I can, keep it a little more brief, but, just again, your involvement when you notice and all that, same thing, just up underneath and then clip to the top.
How did it?
You did good. You only got a bunch of usable stuff in there, so.
You'll get to see yourself. I videoed the whole thing.
All right, Frank?
Yeah.
You're going to look across this way to me.
Okay.
All right, so if you could say and spell your first and last name and tell us how long you lived here.
Brian Swink, Bryan Swink, going on 14 years.
So you were the neighbor that said, "What the heck are you doing?" at first, right?
Yeah, I called him out on his flag upside down. I told him he was disgracing the flag, and he educated me that it's a non-verbal, non-violent protest against the government, and I think that that's something that we need to do.
And how long did it take for you to be convinced? I mean, if anyone's going to convince you, it's this guy, because he knows not only the distress signal, but also, serving as well. Was it a long conversation? How did that go?
I think we had about a 5-minute conversation. He explained to me about a flag at sea upside down as a distress signal, but on land it's a non-verbal, non-violent protest. And I said, well, I think about turning mine over, and I discussed it with my wife, and she agreed, and over it went.
And so, same question that Frank had asked him. I mean, hold on one second for this to fly over.
It's the black helicopter.
The black helicopter.
Watch out for the drones.
So, same question. When you were raising that flag upside down for the first time, what was going through your head? How did it feel?
It was a little unnerving. I mean, I wish that we weren't in this situation where I felt it was necessary, but I feel very strongly that it's an important statement that needs to be made.
And so, if President Obama was standing across from you instead of me, what are the 2 or 3 things that you would want to take up with him in person? I mean, what would you say to him about how things are going?
Well, I don't think that this country needs to head in a socialistic direction. I believe that their agenda is different from mainstream America, and I don't believe in Obamacare. I think that our Constitution was written to protect us against the government, and I feel like the government is trying to invade our lives. And I think that it's time for America to wake up and figure out what we need to do to stop it. Another thing about socialism is that what gives somebody the right to something that I've worked for and earned and own, what gives them the right to have the same thing that I do without putting forth the same amount of work?
And how about if you could just touch on the gun control, debate that's happening right now? So I mean, you said that was something that also kind of touched you guys as well.
Well, I think it's a disgrace that they would use something like Sandy Hook as a platform to promote their anti-gun agenda. It's a tragedy. It was done by one crazed individual with a couple of weapons. The problem wasn't the guns. If the guns would have been left at home, if he would have used a machete, the same result would have happened. It would have been a whole lot bloodier. But if somebody wants to kill somebody, they'll find a way. They're never going to confiscate all the weapons in this country, and the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
And if, again, one of the things that, this is just my opinion, but I don't think you're crazy. I don't think any of you guys on the street are crazy. I mean, people might watch this and say, all right, their flags are going upside down. That's crazy Tea Party people who are just trying to make a statement and get on the news. What do you say to that? I mean, again, my opinion is you're not nuts.
I'm surprised that the news media is in this little tiny neighborhood, because I didn't think that it would ever make a difference. But it was my statement where I'm at, and now we're getting exposure, and I'm proud of that.
Do you hope this spreads across the country?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd like to see businesses take a stand, and I think that this politically correct agenda is weakening and watering down the fabric of our. That doesn't make sense. I think
it sounded nice.
Weakening the fabric of our nation. It's fine.
I think it's weakening the fabric of our people. That'd be my dogs.
What's that day going to be when you can finally go out there and turn the flag around the right way? I think your dog is going to answer that one. No, it wasn't that loud, actually.
Tell them, honey, we're trying to do something over here.
They think they're used to it now. There they go.
There you go.
All right.
So yeah, last question would have is, when is that time going to come, and what is that scenario going to look like when you can turn it back over?
That's a good question. I'd like to turn it back over today, but my feeling is that Obama was a lot more timid, if that's the right word, in his first term, because he had to be concerned about being reelected. He couldn't be too aggressive. He doesn't have anything to lose this time. So I would like to see a different president, one with this same kind of views as somebody like Ronald Reagan. It makes me, I'll say this, it makes me sick to see the President of the United States in the Oval Office with his feet on the furniture, up on the desk, reclining. Ronald Reagan wouldn't take his jacket off because of the respect that he had for the Oval Office, and I think it's a disgrace.
Is there any part of the flag upside down have anything to do with maybe the lack of effort on the Republicans in standing up to the president? I mean, do they bear some of this responsibility? Or are you happy with?
No, I'm not happy with any of the politicians. I think that there needs to be term limits. These guys make deals, and they may make a deal that they don't have to pay back for years and years. And you know, then they made a deal, and somebody comes along and they call that favor in, and I think that there's too many personal agendas that are at play in Washington, and I think term limits. And I don't feel like that they should have the health care that they have, that we don't have, just because they've served. You know, it was a privilege when this country was founded. It was a privilege to serve, and you were asked to leave your business, and it was a sacrifice to go into politics and serve for a period, and then you went back to your business. And that's not the way it is. You know, Obama's never had a job, a real job, where he had to provide a payroll for a bunch of employees. I'm an employer. I'm a small employer, but I'm an employer. And I know what it means to have to get out there and get the work done and get paid so that I can pay my guys. And I don't think he's ever experienced that.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate it. You ready?
Yep. And just
Okay, Rowan.
Say and spell your name for me.
David Dennis, D-A-V-I-D-D-E-N-N-I-S. And may I thank you very much for wandering by our humble neighborhood to say hello. It was very, very kind of you to notice our humble little protest.
And look right toward me.
Yes.
And so, talk about the flagpole that went up in your yard. I mean, you were someone that had to physically install one.
I actually had to buy a flagpole. My friends were saying, you know what, the country is in distress. We have all kinds of problems. And I looked into my heart, and unsurprisingly, I agreed completely with that. Our entitlements crisis is incredible. And it's just incredibly irresponsible of President Obama to make a new entitlement called Obamacare. Well, he didn't call it, but let's face it, Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, it's a mouthful, so we kind of like Obamacare as a name. But you know, it was produced 2,000 odd pages, and as Nancy Pelosi said, no one read it. You know, you look at that. You pass something in order to find out what's in it. That to me is just ridiculous. That's something that, even if it is technically legal, it really shouldn't be. People should have to read the laws that they pass and understand them, because I tried to read it, and it's incomprehensible gobbledygook if you haven't read every law that was ever passed about medicine in American history, which would, you know, it'd take years to do that.
So, what date did the flag go up for you?
Oh, let's see. I think it was about 3 days ago, actually.
So, you know, again, what was it like when you were raising the flag?
Well, as it happens, I am one of the most clumsy. You know, I like to say that there's something called a hammer and there's something called a nail, but I'm really not sure what they do. So as a result, my pal Corey was kind enough to raise it on my behalf while I was looking and taking pictures. And I was proud. I was proud to join a protest of like-minded people, because, you know, we feel so impotent. We feel like we really can't do anything. So when we go together, when we unite, even in a very small way, we are doing something, and that's very cool. So I was proud. There you go.
And what do you think?
We're going to stop for a second, let them come
Okay.
back. You can move the camera there.
Oh, darn.
So stay right where you are.
My camera.
We'll put you right. We'll put it back.
Well, it's on autofocus. It's on face detection.
Start thinking about the next question. I'm going to ask you if you're crazy.
Okay.
All right.
This really should be good.
And, you know, the national exposure, that kind of stuff, if that were to happen.
I got it.
Okay.
All right, so that question, again, for people who see this and might think, hey, you know, this guy's nuts. What do you think?
Well, you know what? Of course I'm crazy. We're all crazy. We're all crazy in our own way. And, you know, sometimes being crazy is what you have to be when you see a government that's crazy too. This government is so crazy that it's created entitlement programs, even though we already have an entitlement program crisis. That's the craziest thing I can think of. And so if we in opposition to that are a little crazy, you know what? I'm down with it. I'm crazy. I admit it. We should all be a little crazier and actually try and get things fixed in this country.
And how about, you know, the exposure? I mean, again, that's kind of what you guys are going after, to be able to start this conversation. Is that right?
It's an exciting conversation to start. It's all about trying to take our country back from people who do not respect the Constitution, who do not respect our fundamental rights, and who fundamentally, I think, do not respect us. You know, they respect their fellow Washington people. They respect the guys who go to Whole Foods Market and buy a regular. I can't stand that stuff, it's so sour. So, that's a different world.
Yeah.
We were in a different world. The two worlds don't respect each other, and maybe that's the problem. I like the idea of trying to come together and unite, but in a positive direction.
Okay. Do you think of anything, Frank? I think we're good.
No, I think
yeah,
very
we've
good.
got a good set of interviews.
How do you think I did?
You did good. You got your microphone
Oh.
still. Hold on.
Oh, thank you.
Do you want to say anything, ma'am?
You told me not to.
Not me.
You're good?
Thanks. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
I can email them like tomorrow.
Peter, I gotta get a group shot of them all. Just kind of.
Yeah, you guys
Here you go,
want
sir.
to?
Can you join the group? You can have your camera.